show you how to create a GUI that will calculate total and average. Here's the GUI that I thought could work for this task. The task actually asks us to input 6 numbers. We're going to calculate the sum of 6 numbers. We're going to calculate the average of 6 numbers. We're going to display the numbers, the output. We're going to display the sum, and we're going to display the average. So that's basically what we're going to do in this task. Right, so here is what I thought could be a solution. We just simply have 6 entry boxes here. When I go calculate, that text will change to average equals whatever it equals, and that text here will change to total equals. That's what that will equal. Now for this task I'm not going to go through the whole GUI. I assume by now that you'll be able to do that. The code's on the website anyway, so I just want to go through the tricky part, is how I actually created the function. Let's run that and let's see what we've got so far. Okay, so all I've got so far is a blank GUI, so I haven't got a function up here. I've just got the input, the entry widgets, and I've got a button. I've got an output labels for the average and the totals. If we put any numbers in here now, nothing happens. It's blank. It doesn't do anything. So what we have to do is create a function to work out the averages and to work out the total. So the first thing we need to do is let's define a function. I'm going to go def, and I'm going to write calculate numbers. Here we go. Now as always, just to make sure that it's actually working, I just want to know whether we're getting to the function, so I just print working here. Now when we put a function in a GUI, it has to operate from an event. So if we press a button, if we do something, it will be triggered, the function will be triggered. So the easiest way to do this in this task is to use a button to trigger the function. So when I click onto this button, click onto this button, the function will actually be called. So I've copied that now, and I go down here and I find it with a button here. Here's the calculate button here. So I'm going to write command equals, and there's the function here. So in this case it'll just come up to here and it will just print working into the shell. I've got the shell over here. I'll pull the function, pull the GUI over here as well. Okay, so now when I hit the calculate button, it'll print working, and it does. So that's fine. Okay, hopefully these windows will stay here now. Alright, now that's all well and good, but what we really need to do is to get the numbers from here, from the entry widgets, and we need to do something with those numbers. So the first test I want to do is, can we get those numbers? I've created a variable called number1, num1, and what I'm first going to do is I'm going to go ent1 get, and then I just want to print num1. Can I print number1? Now what ent1 is, this is this first little entry label here. When I built the GUI, I have ent1, ent2, ent3, they're entry boxes. So when I put something in this time, in this first entry widget, when I hit calculate, it should actually print out that actual number. So let's see how we go. It's taking its time. There we go. and it's not coming up. There it is, it's coming up now. So if I print 15, calculate, 15 is actually coming here. That's fine, that's brilliant, that's what I want. Now, let's print another number, let's see what happens. I just, they're not very imaginative, but it makes sense. Number 2, we'll get that off entry widget 2. And then I'm going to print, just to test if it's working properly, I'm going to print number 1, plus I'm going to print NUN2. So I'm going to put 15 in both, and I should actually end up with 30. Let's see what happens. Okay, here we go. So I'll put 15 in ENT1, I'll put 15 in ENT2, and we should get 30. Here it should actually print out 30. Well, that's interesting. Let's have a look. Let's have a close look what happened here. It didn't print 30, it printed 15 plus 15. Now, what that's telling me is that what the data type here, it's not actually a number. It looks like a number, but it's actually a string. It's actually got 15 as the character 15. And what it's actually doing here, it's adding 15 plus 15, character 15, which is 15 plus 15. Like if I wrote in this GUI now, if I wrote cow, dog, it'll print out cow dog. Does that. Now that's not what we want. We actually want to have a data type as numbers. So let's do this. Now what we have to do here, it's a bit long-winded, but just go with me here. I'm just going to do this in the first one. What we do is we wrap that whole equation in brackets. So ENT 1 and ENT 2. Because I want to work out averages later on, I need a decimal point. So what I'm going to do is use a floating point here. Now this time it should actually add up two numbers. Okay, 15 again, plus 15, and that's got 30. So it's actually working. It's actually printing out two numbers, and it's working. Well, to keep on going here, it shouldn't take a huge leap of logic to figure out, but what I need to do is just change the variable each time. So I'm going to change number 3. And I'll put 3 in here. And I'll keep on doing that. In fact, I've got all the code here, so I'm not going to labour the point. I just need to make sure the indentation is right on this one here. Hopefully the indentation is right. Now let's let's have a look here about the next task I need to do. So what I'm going to do now is I've ran that again, and here is my my widget. So I go 15, 13, and it gets 24, and it's working. All right. What I need to do with this instead of printing this number out, why don't we actually turn this into a variable? I'll call this total, and I'll say total equals number 1 plus number 2, and you've got the idea, plus number 3, etc, 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 all the way up to 6. So I'm going to copy this out now. And I've got to make sure it's indented 4 spaces, which is there. And what I'll do now, just to make sure that it's working, is I will then print total. What I'll also do is I'll add some internal documentation, some comments, just so we know what we're doing in the code and what each section and block of code is actually doing. So I've got the total here. This time it should work out the total of all 6 widgets, and I've made a mistake here. So I think I might need to bring that one across just one level. Let's have a look at that now. Again, I've done that, so that has to be one level. So Python will kill you, it's got to be 4 spaces. Okay. Now I'm just going to put in 1, 2, what happened there? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and calculate. The total should be, I think it's 21. Exactly, it come up 21 there. Well, that's fantastic. So now we've worked out our total. Now, what we'll do now, I can get rid of this print working now because we've done that. I always do that just to see if it's working. Now, what I'll do now, work out average. Now, the sum to work out average is fairly simple. Of course, it'll be the total divided by how many things we're entering in. In this case, it'll be 6. Before I do that though, let's actually print the average just to see if we know we're on the right track or not. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got the total is 21, the average is 3.5, which is basically what it is. So if I maybe just change a couple of these numbers here to see if we can get a different average. You'll see here I've got a really long number here. We don't really want that. We'd want to round it down to 2 decimal places instead of having 3 decimal places, which is a bit long. So what I'll do now is I'll show you how to just print out to 2 decimal places. Now this is where we need to do some formatting. So I've got the average, so I'm going to have another code here. Round down to 2 decimal places. Okay. I'll print the average here and you'll see the difference. Now, the equation to do that is here. So what I'll do is I go average, I go quotes, percentage, dot to F, so that formats it to only having 2 decimal points, and I apply that to the average, so the new average will be just 2 decimal points. Let's put some crazy numbers in now. There we go. So the first number was 103.8 free occurring, and then we have got 8.3333. So it has rounded it down to 2 decimal places. Okay, so I can get rid of this print there. Just cleaning the code up a bit. Well, what we have to do now is we have to print those, display those, the average and the total to our GUI. So let's have a look how we do that. We'll do the total first. Now, the label that was displaying the total is LBL total dot con figure we might just say text equals. Now we want to output the total, so I'm just going to write the variable, the total. So we'll write total. And we'll see what happens now. Okay, so I'll add 6 numbers. I'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I've made a mistake. Total T is not defined. Because I've got a... Yeah, I've made a mistake there. Let's run it again. Hopefully this time we don't make any more mistakes. And exactly, so I've got the total here. Alright, so that's successful, except we don't really want that at this stage. Let's go back to our GUI. What we want is we want the total to be total. We're going to display some text equals. So how do we change this? Well, for a start, what I need to do is I'm going to write as a hard-coded string, total equals. Then if I put a plus symbol in here, I'll be printing out this total equals, then I'll be printing out the number. Let's see if that works. Oh, now have a look at this. I've got an error message and it says, cannot concatenate string and float objects. So what do I have to do? Well, I have to turn this total back to a string. I can do it just here by doing the following. str, so I've turned whatever that number is back to a string, and now it'll display. So now it says total equals 21. And that's how we get our total. So the total is fine. Alright. Now we can come back here, and because we know the total is working, I can delete that print out, because that was just for testing. Now what I'd like to do now is put another hashtag. So I'll go display average to GUI. LDL, the label was in the average label. Dot configure. Now the text will equal, and you've got it, we start by writing a hard-coded string, average equals, and I'm going to then plus, we don't want to make what we did before, and it's going to be str, because we're going to have the string, and we're going to print out the here, so it says the variable, which is average, which will contain our number with the decimal points. We have to convert it back to a string in order to print it. And we should be right to go this time. Right, here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. Exactly, bingo, we've got it. So I've got the average of those numbers, 3.17, and the total is 19. So fine, you might think, well, everything's working. Well, the job hasn't finished here, because as a coder, as a programmer, someone who's interested in developing software, you need to test whether that's correct. So you actually have to get a calculator out now. You have to test what that is. So you would say, in a testing table, the feature tested total output, you would then write these numbers in as your test data, and then you'd say the expected output should be whatever those numbers are, the actual output is this, and if they match, fine, you don't have to take any actions. If they don't, then there's something wrong is going on. So you need to keep on testing, you need to keep on doing this as you're going along. It's a good way to do it. And with average, the same. I don't know off the top of my head whether average is 3.17. I would have to get a calculator. I would do a couple of tests. I wouldn't assume that just one or two would do it. I maybe do 2 or 3 just to make sure that we have the correct the output. And once it's done, that would be the job finished. But you need to do that testing table. It's really, really important. Okay, video over.